Hello everyone. Before working on this video, I thought, Sephara is a simple commander. Like, there are only so many ways you can build a deck that cares about such a narrow subset of cards. If anything, I thought, this video was going to be difficult to make interesting. Everyone's Sephara deck probably looks just the same as mine. I was wrong. Looking at other recent decks, data, and videos about Sephara, I've come to realize the deck I play is not similar to many at all. Let me ask you now, how would you build Sephara? Just looking at her, what would you do? The one I hear most often when I put her in the command zone is, oh cool, an Angels deck. And while you can build Sephara as Angels, Birds, or Spirits, I did not go in this direction. Based, if you're playing this one by the way. Statistically, most of you notice Sephara's requirements to have 4 other flying creatures in play, and reasoned that you should have a go-wide flying theme with tokens and cheap flyers to fill your board in order to turbo Sephara out, and then have Anthems and Lords to pump your team. This is most Sephara decks. This is even where my deck started, and it's not specifically incorrect to build Sephara this way. You will win games of Commander if you do this. It's just not the most optimal or most fun, in my opinion. Let me explain why. Firstly, it has to do with card quality. Sephara is a 1-mana 7/7 commander with flying, lifelink, and a passive ability that protects your board. This is an incredible rate. Everyone would play that card in white. The thing is though, to get that effect into play on a turn where it would feel broken, say turn 3, the rate of the cards in your deck must be sacrificed if you want to do it consistently. Over 60% of Sephara decks run cards like Battlefield Raptor, Segovian Angel, and Healer's Hawk. This trend is vindicated by all the non-gimmick Sephara decks I've seen. These cards have no place in your deck, because although a 1-mana 1/2 with flying and first strike is a good rate card when you're playing limited with an opponent at 4 life, it's less good when you have 3 opponents with a combined 120 life. You should run 1-mana flying creatures in your Sephara deck to get her out early, absolutely. Just make sure most of them have an effect on the game besides being a mana dork for only your commander. This lowers the consistency of getting Sephara in play early, but for the increased consistency and card quality, it is worth it. Consider yourself excluded from all my objections, of course. If you want to play a gimmick deck or are building a super budget deck, you're accepting that sacrifice as part of your fun, of course, which is never wrong. And also, yes, in Commander, some of the time you are sacrificing card quality to some degree to shape the experience you want to have, but there is a limit. Another thing that made me shy away from the Lords that pepper the list of most Sephara decks is the fact that she has 7 power. It's the magic number that makes for an incredible Voltron commander, and that is the primary strategy of the deck I built. Good on you if you caught on to that. As it stands, only 8% of decks run cards like Duelist Heritage and Flaming Fist to enable this strategy, and only a staggering 80 decks run Sublime Archangel, which, yes, stacks with double strike enablers to turn Sephara into a one-hit kill. This card belongs in every Sephara deck, even if you disagree with my direction and built her as a go-wide deck. EDH Rec has a filter tool. When I put Duelist Heritage alongside another card I find vital to a Sephara Voltron deck, Angel of Destiny, it retrieved only 13 decks in the database. EDH Rec isn't everything, I must emphasize, but this shocking statistic was reflected by Sephara lists I poured over immediately after discovering this. Really quickly, Angel of Destiny is a 5-mana 2/6 angel with flying and double strike. It has a triggered ability that says at the beginning of your end step, if you have at least 15 or more life than your starting life total, each player Angel of Destiny attack this turn loses the game. Yes, even if it's blocked, it just has to survive to the end step after attacking. What stops this card from being as good in a go-wide flying deck is that it heals your opponents and you for the amount of combat damage your creatures deal, effectively stopping all your damage in favor of healing you. When you run Sephara as a Voltron strategy though, this doesn't undo her commander damage dealt and even stacks with her lifelink, meaning you'll get to the life threshold that much easier. Also, Lightning Greaves and Swiftfoot Boots will likely be in your deck if commander damage is your main plan of winning the game, which both give the Angel of Destiny haste to kill the same turn it's played. I have games end by turn 7 with this deck because I killed a player with commander damage and the other 2 players with Angel of Destiny. Not just a fluke either. This has happened multiple times. The fact that people undervalue this card in this strategy was one of the main drives for getting this video out there. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. Must be nice playing at tables without interaction. Voltron is a vulnerable strategy. You'll typically kill one player and then get knocked out of the game for being too threatening. Which is true, but not for Sephara. When you give up going into the go wide theme, Sephara becomes your best play. So you don't have to dedicate your mana to many more plays after you establish her, which lets you keep up protection spells for generic removal as well as for this deck's natural predators, Blasphemous Act, Toxic Deluge, and Mass Bounce. Even if you do get answered though, Sephara is so incredibly cheap to get out there that it's not just hard to recast her again. Sephara's cheap cost also allows you to cast her and in the same turn cycle, hold up protection spells for her. If all else fails, Sephara is also one of the rare cases where a Voltron commander can pivot into a deeply controlling deck. There's a few ways this happens. 1. A lot of flying creatures in white, hilariously, also happen to be stacks pieces which slow the game down long enough for you to get kills in with your commander. 2. Other flying creatures have card draw potential, most of which are not on enter the battlefield effects, meaning they aren't friendly fired by our Torpor Orb creatures. 3. The indestructibility Sephara grants to other creatures makes her the queen of making board wipes a one-sided affair for you. And 4. A Voltron build of Sephara means swinging out less when compared to a go-wide deck, letting you have an army of indestructible flying blockers that makes keeping the monarchy trivial, turning it into a one-sided howling mine that keeps your resources high even late into the game. Even in the case of you losing it to something like a shadow or trample creature, you can just swing with Sephara to get it back. I could talk all day about the other little micro synergies the deck has, but I'll keep them brief because I'm less confident that they will survive into the future like the previous advice will. I chose to run some artifact creatures for Topplegeist's Delirium that double as defense from protection from white effects. The land choices for this deck were also really fun. I run Blinkmoth Nexus as another colorless blocker, or as a way to cheat Sephara out. Flagstones of Trocaire is a recent addition to make White Orchid Phantom a way to answer lands, but also a ramp spell in the right hand. And War Room and Bonder's Enclave makes it less painful to float a large amount of mana for expensive protection spells like Teferi's Protection, Plaza of Heroes, or Robe of Stars activated ability. Although I consider it a bad card for most Sephara decks due to being too expensive, Aegis Angel is just too funny to cut, at least for now. If you want a full list of synergy like this, check the Moxfield link down in the description below to read the primer and see the deck for yourself. And while you're down there, I have a few questions for you to answer. Did you diverge from my opinions at all, or do you agree with my build? Are there cards in a deck of yours that you thought would be ubiquitous, but turned out to be hidden gems that most people didn't know about? I love to talk Magic, so getting to read and to reply to all of your comments on these videos has been a ton of fun, and it means a lot. Thank you all for watching. I'll see you next time. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. Must be nice playing at a table without interaction. Voltron is a valuable strategy. It's a vulnerable strategy, not valuable. I mean, it's valuable to have, whatever.